Hello, and welcome to Wardrobe Whispers, the podcast of taboo topics. My name is Harry, and I am your host. What is this podcast about, and why? The idea of the podcast is to talk about everyday subjects that are not part of everyday conversation. And the intention is to educate myself and to educate the listeners on topics so that we don't shame or shun other people. And in a sense, we strengthen our objectivity, which in turn creates more acceptance of others and their ways. And the purpose is also to bring a normalcy to anything that a human being experiences, whether it is taboo or not. That is the main purpose. To give you an example of my own experience, I have come out of a relationship about 5 years ago. I was married and with a beautiful woman for a very long time, and I cheated on my wife. I was married, and it was a horrible thing to do, and it was a very difficult experience to go through for very much for her and for myself. And I've learned so much about myself. As life's journey is, you're always learning and growing. I came out of that relationship and decided to turn myself around and find out why it is I cheated on someone I loved so much. I decided to also be completely honest and be honest with everyone that I encounter, even if it causes pain and harm. So I was almost in the extreme opposite, and I think I kind of went a little bit extreme and could be like a brutal honesty. But during this time, what I've discovered is straight away, when I finally went dating and seeing other people, part of my initial conversation would be to say to people, look, I cheated on my wife. So me coming out saying that straight out off the bat, which took a lot of courage, because immediately you're confronting this fear of being rejected for doing something so bad, because once a cheater, always a cheater. Coming out and saying that straight away, the amount of people that I connected with that opened up to me, that admitted they are in a difficult relationship, or admitted that they have cheated, or admitted that they're thinking of cheating, is astounding. There's just so many people living and thinking and feeling all these things, but they don't want to share because it's taboo, and it's taboo topics. So this again was another example and another thought for me to start introducing different topics and conversations about things that would normally make us afraid that we will not be accepted or welcomed or kept within our circle, which I think if you are going to be shunned for something that you think and feel from your circle, there's possibly a reason you should not be in that circle to start with. But that is a whole different conversation and will be one of the topics that we're going to be discussing. So what is a taboo and what drives it to maintain its power? I found a lovely article by Hannah Marcus on Talkwalker, and she says, I'm going to quote word for word, "Taboo is an interesting concept. It contains a sense of the unspoken, but that in itself is a contradiction. Taboo topics are those which are spoken about, but without the sense of safety that comes with normal communication topics. Taboo topics are those which come with a risk of repercussion in raising them, and therefore ones where people don't always want to be directly associated with the thing they want to say for fear of shame, embarrassment, or even punishment." So in a sense, society has created taboos, but we are maintaining those taboos. So if there is anything that is taboo, we are upholding it. We are enduring the taboo of those various subjects and topics. So this is exciting for me to start this podcast, because I think there's such an array of subjects that can be covered in such an array of topics that we're going to be covering. And again, just even mentioning some of the subjects I would like to discuss and cover, which would be anything and everything, I have the sense of it's taboo to even mention some of the topics because I'm afraid people will shun the podcast and not listen to future episodes. And let me give you an example. So some of the subjects that I want to cover and will cover will be menstruation, periods and menopause. That could, whether that's all one subject or not. A man talking about these things, it's taboo. It's not accepted. But we don't know anything about it because it's not part of everyday conversation. Generally, it comes up either during the time, which is difficult, or post the time that has been difficult, and usually just used to explain emotional situation that was occurring rather than fully understanding. And for a man, it is, I don't think we understand what a woman goes through during this period. And technically, women should be on sick leave. And us as men, we don't understand this because, again, it's not a subject that is spoken about. The reason that I started thinking about this, I scrolled across Christine's, someone I follow on Instagram, and the eco actress, and she had little posts about her environmental friendly ways of coping with her period, and there's a menstrual cup, and she was doing these little videos on how to use them and the advantages of them and benefits. And she got so much shit from women, not even men, from other women about sharing this way of improving your life and the way it's been improving her life and the world because it's environmentally friendly as well. And that made me think, what kind of a world are we living in? Like, how can we improve this? How can we make this normalcy? How can we bring this to everyday conversation? So those subjects came up for me. And then here's some other ones. Anything that I feel like, I shouldn't be talking about this is generally a taboo subject. And if it makes me feel, and it's a taboo topic, I'm going to be talking about it. So I want to learn, and I'm coming at this from a learner state of mind rather than a teacher state of mind. So I hope you're going to join me on this journey to discover some other subjects, and a few of those that will be coming up is masturbation and connecting with self, the frequency, etc., the state you're in before orgasm and directly after orgasm. I'm going to be talking about addictions. There's such a variety of addictions, and we're going to unpack some of the addictions like pornography, for example, alcohol and drug addictions, and coffee addictions. Now, there's one that most people don't admit they have. I want to talk about finances, money, and for example, it's a taboo for us to talk about how much I own, how much I have, how much I make, how much I owe, how much I'm in debt, how many times I've been bankrupt, and there's this subtle taboo about talking about finances, and I really want to cover some of these subjects as well. Fantasizing during sex, imagining other people. And again, I feel like I shouldn't be talking about this, but because I feel like I shouldn't be talking about it, this is why I'm going to be talking about it. Polygamy, it's always an interesting one. Adultery, why people cheat. Happy ending massages, I don't know, it just came to me. Excuse the pun. Sexual desires of the gender specific, the differences between men and women and sexual desires. And then also testosterone and the influenced states it has. Be covering swear words, possibly STDs, IBS. There's an interesting one. I was standing in a cafe the other day where I go regularly, and most people there know me. Most of the staff become very good friends with them, and someone else was trying to order my food, and I have IBS. And she loudly started talking in the cafe about me having IBS. And it's like, I didn't know Harry had IBS. And I was sitting at my table and I was like, ooh, I kind of felt a little bit weird about that. And then I was like, but why? That's normal. It's human being. It's normal. So I want to talk about those things and illnesses that we're afraid to admit to or be associated with, and that includes mental fitness. I'm not going to talk about mental health. I'm going to talk about mental fitness. And following on to some other subjects would be narcissistic blame and the real truth. I will explain that once the episode happens. And the false perception I've got my shit together. Keeping photos of exes. Why not? Let's talk about that. Why you really went on Tinder and why you're still on Tinder. Why are we still using plastic? Let's talk about it. We're all afraid. Why are we not vegan? Why are we not vegetarian? Why do we still eat meat? Why do we shame other people? Why would us, I don't know, people who are the cool kids still eating meat, why would we shame someone who chooses to eat and live a environmentally friendly or a eco life or a vegan life? Why do we shame them? We have to go to shame. They don't shame us. It's, something else that I really want to talk about is why jewelry industry is fucked. I'm a jeweler and I am transitioning out of being a jeweler at the moment, but I've been a jeweler for quite a long time and I actually own a jewelry business. So me speaking about this is going to be a little bit controversial because I believe this is one of those industries where one of those other industries where we just turn a blind eye because we want the thing that makes us look good and feel good and connect this emotional soul to this piece of thing that comes out of the earth. But we're turning a blind eye to what this thing has to go through to get to be on our fingers. The earth that's got to be turned upside down, the money that has to be made and manipulated and everything else that's associated around it, the poverty, the essentially not slavery, but borderline. Yeah, so there's a lot to cover in that one. Something random came up as well, staying together for the sake of kids, why you're still in a shitty job, a shitty relationship, or why you still have shitty food habits, why you really want that fast car. Is that a taboo subject? I don't know. I think anything that could offend someone may borderline skirt into the taboo topics. Not so much a taboo topic, but if it offends someone, I think, yeah. What makes a sexy accent? I don't know. I just thought of it. One of the scariest topics to cover would be sexism, and that would be chauvinism versus feminism. I think I need to build up a little bit more experience, and thank you for coming along on this journey with me, because this is all about me learning and strengthening and growing so that I can improve my abilities so I can be a better host and interview people a little bit better. I'm going to have to cover some other subjects as well: prostitution, homosexuality, cultural and religious taboos, men commenting on women's bodies and the vice versa, etc., etc. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I just really want to thank you for listening to it so far, and I look forward to announcing the next episode and my interview to you shortly. So if you could please subscribe, that would be wonderful. You probably would be the first one to subscribe. And you can also follow the podcast on YouTube, where I will be launching it. And we have an Instagram, which is wardrobe.whispers. And just before I roll out, I just want to say that I want to explain how I came up with the name Wardrobe Whispers. When I originally thought of starting a podcast, I thought that the most quiet place in my house would be my wardrobe. And naturally that came up, Wardrobe Whispers. So, yeah, there it is. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to sharing with you again shortly. Thank you.